We're ready to begin talking about relational database, but before we do, I want to go back and take a look at a spreadsheet that we looked at previously. This is the first pivot table.xlsx spreadsheet, and at the time I introduced this, I told you that there were some issues with the data that was stored in the spreadsheet, and I had highlighted some of the data in yellow. I have since gone back and added some more yellow highlighting to try to make this stand out even more. But here's the nature of the problem. If we look at the data that's stored row by row, and let's just take a look at row 2 for starts, we see that we store data about a groomer named Sally. We're storing her name and her position, something to do with her job. We also store data about a customer, the customer's last name and first name. We also store data about a pet that belongs to the customer that is being cared for by the groomer. And we also store data about a service that is being rendered or has been rendered. And so if you look across the data, what you see with a little bit of insight is that we have 4 different themes, 4 different things that we're storing data about. And when we store data about Sally the groomer again on row 5, let's take a look at what goes on there. There's some yellow highlighting. So we're storing data about Sally the groomer. This has to do with a service that she's rendering for another customer's pet. And in this row, we see that Sally's position is listed as junior groomer rather than senior groomer. And if we look down here to where Sally's next row of data occurs, we see that she's listed as a senior groomer. And I want to go over here and take a look at this rightmost column because there's yellow highlighting in there. And the yellow highlighting is associated with baths. I missed one here, so I'm going to add some more yellow highlighting here. The yellow highlighting has to do with the time that it takes to give baths and the time that it takes to remove ticks. So as I look at the different pets that have had a bath service rendered, we notice that in this instance we list that the service time for a bath is 45, and then we list that the service time for a bath is 45. Okay, so this is the time that we advertise it takes to give a bath. So when someone's being charged, we would maybe charge them based on that approximate amount of time it takes to give a bath. But then all of a sudden it jumps to 55, and then back to 45, and elsewhere we see that the bath time down here is 44. So if that's a standard time that we advertise and a time in which we base some service charge, then it appears that maybe it's been entered in incorrectly in some places. And just the same thing can be said over here, that it appears that Sally's position has been entered in incorrectly in these places. So anytime we have data where we store it in a structure that requires us to enter in data, the same data over and over again, anytime we store it in a structure that causes the data to be stored redundantly, we have the potential for that data to be entered in inconsistently. And that's the problem we've got here. This structure, although it provides us with all the information we need on these different themes is being entered in too many times. We're storing the data redundantly. Not only does it require more storage space, but the bigger problem is that anytime we store the data redundantly, we run the risk of entering it in inconsistently and introducing some kind of error. And I want you to be heads up to this idea, because once we look at a relational database, what we'll find out is that we don't store the data redundantly. And in fact, in a relational database, we would break out each one of these themes into a separate storage structure and build into the relational database a pointer system, so that rather than having to enter the data repeatedly, we enter it one time and simply point to it whenever we need to use it. And you'll see how that's done here shortly.